Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Mabon, and I am the board chair for the Corona Chamber of Commerce and owner of Creative by Design. We're excited you are here to join us today, and I'd like to share a few announcements before I turn it over to Jeff, who will be speaking on what's coming in the year ahead. Today's event is sponsored by AFE Power. AFE Power is a premier designer and manufacturer of automotive performance upgrade systems and components. Their product lineup includes air filters, air intake and exhaust systems for most late model cars and trucks. They are passionate about providing the most compelling, innovative, and highest performing products that are designed, built, and tested in the USA. Thank you, AFE Power, for sponsoring this meeting. A reminder to please use the chat button to ask any questions. Send your questions to the chamber host, and we will ask them verbally at the appropriate time. Our holiday mixer and toy drive is coming up next Thursday, December 9th. This will be held from 6 to 9 p.m. at Tacos Al Fuego. It's a $20 admission and open to Corona Chamber members only. Sponsorships are available. Please visit the link on your screen for more information. Our last Coffee with the Entrepreneur of the Year is coming up very soon on December 13th. We are excited to have two amazing speakers with us, Stacy and Ray Bass. This duo founded Boost Training in 2011, as well as Bass Education in 2020, and since then have seen both grow to unexpected heights. They combine their love of fitness and education to help student athletes achieve their dreams. Register now to come hear them speak. This is one you will not want to miss. The Jimmy Kimmel LA College Bowl is just over 2 weeks away. Tickets are on sale now for as low as $40. The game starts at 4:30 p.m. at SoFi Stadium, but get there early for some fun pre-game activities. And Anthony will be shaving his beard right there in the parking lot with a huge crowd, but only if we sell 400 tickets, so get yours now. Learn more at the bit.ly on the screen. Save the date for our 111th Installation and Awards Gala coming up on January 20th, 2022. We will be installing our new board of directors for 2022 and present awards to some incredible businesses and individuals. Seating and sponsorship opportunities are now open. You can register by going to the bit.ly shown on your screen and reserve your seat for just $111 when you pay by December 31st. If you are a guest and not currently a member of the Corona Chamber, we welcome you to join our chamber family. Meetings like these are just one of the many benefits to being a part of an active, thriving organization like the Corona Chamber. Please outreach to our membership development coordinator, Robert Yanez, and he can review the many incentives for both joining and referring businesses to join. Or if you're already part of the chamber family and you want to learn about the many ways the chamber can help you market your business, please contact our marketing and sponsorship specialist, Tammy Harwick. I would now like to introduce our legislative advocate, Jeff Gibson. He keeps up with all of the movement happening locally, regionally, statewide, and federally. With Jeff's thorough analysis, he helps us act timely on projects and initiatives that can help make a difference in shaping our community. As owner of Occidental Communications Group, his knowledge of complex political issues and the great relationships he has built ensure the Corona Chamber has all the tools to be effective on behalf of the business community. Please help me welcome Jeff Gibson to share a legislative update. Jeff, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had an audio issue with my computer. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the actual inflationary part of our show. As one business day after being reappointed to a 4-year term as the director of the Federal Reserve. Amazingly, Jerome Powell looked at all of the policies within the Federal Reserve and came back with the incredible thing that we talked about in March, which were that the fundamentals of the economy were such that inflation was in for a very long, impactful run on our economy. He retired the word transitory and said that people read into that it's a transition or a temporary thing. Because that's what transitory means in the common use of the the English language and most other languages. And so in any case, we are actually in a inflationary market for the first time in over 30 years. So to all of you who are less than 30 years old or may not have clear memories of that period of time, welcome. So with that, we decided to look at the different ways that the state of California and some of its policy leaders were looking to shape California policy going forward. There are a few good items that are being proposed on the ballot as a ballot measure for people that pay taxes and fund all of the public policy that we talk about here. And then there are a couple that obviously are those that we're concerned about, and then there are those that clearly are good for any resident of the state of California. And so we'll dive right into them. The first here are the good news on potentially on California taxes, and the first is called the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act, and it requires that every statewide tax increase that is signed into law, that it passes the legislature, signed into law by the governor, then must be approved by statewide election of the voters. And voters have approved tax increases in the past, but obviously that is a much higher standard to follow at a time when California is universally now seen with perhaps Hawaii as the two most highly taxed places in the world. So that is one that is out for signature gathering. You may see it either on the internet or at your local store gathering signatures. It's definitely something that we will be paying attention to. The second is known as Repeal the Death Tax. And recent changes in California code require that upon the death of a grandparent or a parent that is transferring an asset, a real property asset to their children or grandchildren, that the state has the opportunity to reassess that property. This was part of Prop 19. Which we were nominally in favor of because of the other protections for taxpayers. What was promised at the time, and what amazingly didn't make it into legislation this year, even in introduction, and something that we warned about at the time, was that the legislature said, yes, there are problems within Prop 19. We are going to have a great sponsor for the Fix-It bill next year, and it will pass the legislature. It'll be one of the first things passed, and it'll be great, and you'll love it. And you'll still be able to transfer your property in your assessed property value, which in many cases means that the family home gets to stay in the family. And we'll sign that day one of the legislature. Well, it never got introduced. And so property is now being reassessed as it's being transferred. And of course, that means that in many cases it has to be sold, which is not the intent of the law. And so the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association is sponsoring a ballot initiative that's about to go out for signature gathering that will restore what they're calling the death tax, which clearly, because it is related to mortality, is an accurate name. So in any case, moving on. So those two issues would basically hold the state of California where it is revenue-wise right now. So these are not going to be taking current revenue from the state of California. The state of California this year will bring in about $250 billion in revenue for, as an example, when we were building the transportation system, the water systems, the education systems that we all rely on, the state of California was taking in at an inflationary adjustment, was taking in about $40 billion It was obviously much lower at the time. But to give you an idea of where we would be if we're counting today's dollars versus today's dollars, the size of state government is now is basically 6 times the size it was when we were finding the money to build all of these incredible pieces of infrastructure that keep our state rolling. So we aren't backing anything that's going to be taking revenue from the state, but limiting the ability of the legislature to go out and find new revenue. So then moving on to the next slide, which are potential bad news on California taxes. As promised, last time we spoke before the Thanksgiving holiday, I hope everybody had a great holiday. There are a number of folks that are very highly connected in the state of California and very successful at getting ballot measures on the ballot. So we have to presume one of these will be on the ballot. There are multiple measures that have very, very nice sounding names that basically eliminate Prop 13. And where in the 2020 election cycle, we had something that was called split roll. And the offer was, whether you vote for it or whether you vote against it, it's kind of a scientific experiment. We will never be coming back on this issue. And split roll, if you remember, split the assessment roll between commercial properties and residential properties, and commercial properties would then get reassessed, and they'd get reassessed every 2 to 3 years. And so the voters rejected that. And of course, now true to their word, that they would never come back to we're never going to come back. This is a scientific experiment. We're just looking to see what you think about it. They now have come back to a flat out tax increase. So there is no split roll. There is no protection of the 1%. What these would be doing is, the first is the Affordable Housing and Financial Accountability Act, which raises the 1% taxation rate on real property taxes, which are imposed by Prop 13, dedicating a portion of that to subsidized housing projects. Currently, if the state of California, in the state of California, a market rate home that you would be buying at almost any price point costs the developer of that property about $300,000. For the state of California to build a much smaller, much fewer amenity dwelling for someone that would be considered affordable housing. In the state average is about $700,000 a unit. So you can buy a property pretty much anywhere in the state of California of moderate to large size with a number of amenities for $500,000 to $600,000. And that would be the cost to the developer. That wouldn't be what you would buy, right? That would be the cost to the developer, with a large number of those costs built in for development fees, for infrastructure fees, for various different government pieces. For the government themselves to build one unit of subsidized housing, usually 2 bedrooms or less, usually 2 bathrooms or less, usually not as heavily amenitized as you would get in a home in Corona or anywhere else in the state, you're looking at $700,000 per unit. And in the in urban areas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, for instance, you're well over $1 million a unit. So what we would be doing if we passed the affordable housing, if it qualified for the ballot, and if it was on the ballot, and if we, as a group of 37 million, voted in favor of the Affordable Housing and Financial Accountability Act, we would be putting all of the new property taxes that we would be paying into a general fund to build more affordable housing, which, as we've just said, is usually twice as expensive as building market rate housing. So obviously we're going to have some sincere issues with that. A second related act is the Tax Cut and Housing Affordability Act. Who doesn't love a tax? As Jerry Brown once said, everyone in the country loves a tax cut. Everyone in the country loves housing affordability. So why don't they happen? And I'm just quoting our longest serving governor. So what this does is it eliminates Prop 13 protections on any piece of property valued over $4 million. So that's almost every apartment unit, apartment complex. It's every commercial piece of property, all the way down to some of your larger homes. And it removes the Prop 13 protections from that. They can be taxed at a much higher rate. That money would then go into tax exemptions for individual homeowners of property of that is valued at less than $2 million. And on top of that, rental relief for rental properties. So again, if you were interested in lowering rent, why would you be taxing rental properties at a much higher rate and then refunding that money to the renters? That does not seem to be, that seems to take two extra steps that and get you off in a circle that causes even more problems. But with that said, as an added bonus, it almost eliminates all local zoning control and gives that to the state legislature. So if you look out at the housing policies that we've been talking about and think that the politicians in Sacramento that can barely find Corona on a map care about Corona more than your city council, this is the initiative for you. So by permanently eliminating local planning controls, basically the design of that is the legislature would decide how many units need to be built in the city of Corona, and then the city of Corona would be tasked with building those, as opposed to analyzing how and where and when and why. And so that's an added bonus again for that proposed initiative. And again, the 4 initiatives that we're going to talk about and the 3 that we're talking about here on the next slide have not qualified for the ballot. There are approximately, I want to say, give or take 20 proposals that may be going out for signatures. The ones that we're focusing on are 1, those of interest to business owners like yourself. 2, are backed by a large enough group that they very likely will be appearing on the ballot, either because they were placed there by the legislature or they qualified through signature gathering. They need about 997,000 ballot signatures, which means that they will be looking for approximately 1.5 million signatures. So it takes about $6 million if you are going to take the full time to qualify it. If you want to qualify it quicker, it's going to be $10 to $15 million. So, I mean, it's an expensive thing. So we're not going to bring to you what may or may not be good ideas that aren't going to appear on the ballot, because we don't want to distract you from the good work that you're already doing and the work that you're in the businesses that you have. So the third slide is the 2022 emerging issues, 3 issues that we are tracking for you. Oftentimes these issues show up in ballot measures and then end up being a part of legislative discussions or administrative discussions. The first is the Petty Theft Act. As we've talked about, Prop 47, 2 election cycles ago, eliminated almost every property theft and violent theft felony in the state of California, making them non-accelerating misdemeanors, much like a parking ticket. You even have, if you get 2 moving violations, each of us on this call know that a moving violation is not a non-accelerating misdemeanor. That means you can keep getting convicted of these things, and it doesn't accelerate into a larger penalty. Well, in the state of California, as long as you are not caught with $950 worth of goods on you, then you are given an order to appear before a judge, and you are up for trial for a $25 fine. So very few people are arrested by it. As we've talked about, Walgreens is largely leaving the San Francisco Bay Area completely because of massive amounts of organized theft. CVS is facing the same issues. You probably have seen over the holiday that the Grove faced a looting situation for Nordstrom's. There have been gun takeovers of restaurants in South Coast Plaza. Walnut Creek had their very nice mall all basically destroyed. Their Nordstrom's basically destroyed by organized gangs of people that came in and were running in and out, stealing $900 handbags because they were stealing them one at a time and then throwing them to accomplices who were putting them into the back of their vehicles and driving off. Specifically organized around $950. What this act does is it recriminalizes petty theft under $900 up to $950, and it makes it an accelerator with a minimum. It now accelerates. The first time you can be caught, you can be convicted, $25 fine. The second time, it's a minimum of 1 year in county jail with no time off for good behavior. That is a very, very mild change that compared to what we would do previously. For instance, in the state of California, it's no longer illegal to use a stolen gun in the commission of a crime. That's one of the things that was taken out by Prop 47. It's illegal to use your own gun, but it's not illegal to use a stolen gun. So what is happening are people that are using guns in the commission of crime, when they are caught, even if it's their own gun, swear that the gun was stolen. So this is kind of the backward area that we're in now. And this initiative is backed by a number of property owners, obviously, who are interested in having their commercial centers filled with things like CVS, Walgreens, Target. Target has eliminated 9 stores in the San Francisco Bay Area specifically because of this issue. So in any case, so that's one thing that's going to be coming up pretty quickly. The second is the Ballot Measure Transparency Act of 2022 and the reforms that created the ballot measure. An initiative in 1872, the state attorney general, who was considered to be largely nonpartisan at the time and was largely nonpartisan until we elected the Oakland mayor, Jerry Brown, who went on to once again become governor. The attorney general took the responsibility of naming the official responsibility of naming ballot measures and writing their ballot summaries as a very nonpartisan act. Jerry Brown changed that in 2007 when he became attorney general into a very partisan act, a hyper partisan act. And so what this would do is it would reestablish the nonpartisan tradition that lasted from 1872 to 2007 of having nonpartisan officials look at ballot measures and give an accurate description to voters so that they can make decisions based on that. If you've seen this recently, like I just described to you, Prop 47 was called the Safe Schools Act in several ballot designations, having nothing to do with schools. So these are the problems that we face. That's something that we definitely are looking to support if it continues to move forward. And finally, local planning override measure. So currently in state code, there are a number of duplicative standards from the state on local planning agencies. We've talked about it quite frequently. One of the examples that I use is that in seawater, mercury is a trace naturally occurring element in seawater. And so the city of Newport Beach is required under Prop 65 to put on the narrowest of its beaches that even standing on the steps looking at the beach could be a violation, a Prop 65 warning. But unfortunately, the California Coastal Commission will not allow for an improvement on those very narrow beaches along the coves of our coast for an improvement that includes warning signs. So the city of Newport Beach, the county of Orange, county of San Diego have all been sued by both agencies with the threat of thousands of dollars of fines that are daily building up if they either don't put up the signs or do put up the signs. And in reality, what that is the local agency being caught in the middle. Well, our housing policy, which has largely been determined by the state and implemented by the locals, is under large changes from the state of California. What this initiative seeks to do is provide the same level of local control that we had in 2019, from 1872 to 2019, for local housing decisions. And that's what we're trying to do, because obviously the city of Corona, which is largely built out, there are still areas that you can build housing on reasonably, is under an order that up to 20,000 or more units need to be constructed in the next 8 years, which would add 1 out of every 3, would add an additional 33% to the housing stock. So there's a large concern amongst a lot of folks in a lot of areas that that balance has been destroyed and needs to be recalibrated back to where it was previously. So that's the local planning override measure. We will be tracking it, and if it gets on the ballot, and we will analyze its form then and come to you with a recommendation of support or not. So with that, what do we have, Anthony? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, so we have several questions. The first being, is Howard Jarvis sponsoring the TPGAA?
The TPGAA?
TPGAA.
All right, Mr. Miller, you stumped me.
All right, Jeff. Your first slide, it had 2 ballot measures. One was sponsored by Howard Jarvis. Who sponsors the first one?
The first one, yes, they are going to be very active in that first one as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But there are a number of sponsors that have yet to be named. Currently, it's just the lawyer that drafted it.
Gotcha.
But yes, they're definitely going to be. Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association is going to be very active in both.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure when you asked if that was some sort of professional golf tournament that's coming to Eagle Glen or not, but
It's actually a rock and roll band that I like.
hello, Cleveland. All right. So
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. The next question is, can we discuss the new district map suggested for the county? Can we at least object to the one map that splits Corona? And can we send a sample letter to our membership to send in individual letters to support one of the maps and absolutely disapprove the map that splits our community?
Wow. Okay. You guys are coming at me both barrels today. The answer is yes, obviously. And are you asking as a group, as the Corona Chamber, or can we individually? Individually, yes, you can always do that. The 2 maps that I am understanding are under final discussion, and possibly our chairman, Mr. Miller, can speak to this as well. My understanding is that Corona is going to largely stay in one piece under the reapportionment. There are other maps out there that would consider splitting Corona, but my understanding is that Corona at this point, under basically both of the most likely scenarios, moves forward as a single item. We can come back and speak to that at the next meeting, if you would like.
But don't they take the vote next week? Next Tuesday?
Yeah, I do believe the vote is next week, and there's 3 maps under consideration.
Yeah, the map that splits Corona is the assembly map for the state assembly. The county of Riverside and the congressional maps do not. So if anybody wants to weigh in on that assembly map, they're by all means they can contact
The state reapportionment district, the state
commission
reapportionment. The,
and let them know that.
on
Jeff-
that item,
Jeff and Jeff, can we go ahead and give them the link then later? Can you get that to Anthony? And when he sends the recap on this, we can put that information in for people to do that. I was under the impression that the assembly one was the local Riverside County districts. So it is not,
the
okay?
commission, but the commission has already issued advice that they are 99.9% complete. And so they would look at switching what are known as census tract, basically neighborhood level lines, but not large scale lines. But yeah,
Got
so that's which again is the reason why you never have an elected official be so blunt as saying we've accepted one round of public information and we're not basically going to be listening to anything else you send us. Whereas an elected official would be willing to at least receive your letter, at least hear your voice, even at the hearing for the final vote. I mean, that's the difference between, it's always a thing that voters are interested in of, oh, give voters more of a voice. In reality, what you're doing is you're giving insiders more of a voice. And that's what has happened here is you have people that are highly ingrained in the system that have large amounts of interest in what those lines look like. And they're not, and there is very little mechanism by which voters can actually, petition their elected leaders, because elected leaders don't have anything to do with the way state lines are drawn or federal lines are drawn, where they did in the past.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Jeff, I'm a little confused because I just got an email from another supervisor and they put a link to the county page and they have 3 maps up there that are under consideration. And I know that the supervisors voted from 5 to 3 a week or 2 ago. And it's one of those community maps, number 1.4, that is splitting Corona. And these have nothing to do other than the county supervisorial district maps. So there's 3 out there on the county's own website.
And I'm not disputing, Mike, that there are 3 maps. The 2 that are under the largest consideration, though, being heavily involved in this, the 2 that are under most consideration aren't dealing with the city of Corona. We'd be happy to communicate that to Karen Spiegel and move it forward. That we already have on record with her office a policy that Corona should not be split up. And I just so you know, I personally have gone out with clients and made sure that in my private business that policy is also enshrined. So we're already on record as being against splitting up Corona for any legislative district.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We will work on a letter, though, that we can provide to our members.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Anthony, go ahead. Is there any other questions?
I do have one more question, and I know that we are over our time limit, but if Jeff can answer this really quickly. Do you predict or expect a housing market crash? And if so, how bad? Any idea when per trends?
Man, like I said, all barrels firing. Well, I can say that mortgage rates are likely to start going up in the middle of next year because of inflationary pressures. Everything that I have been able to see are that assets overall are overvalued, which also means real estate. but that no one is looking for a hard crash landing. There are not as many questionable mortgages in the system as there were in 2007, 2008, 2006, 2007, 2008. So there appears to be a large bubble in asset prices. I think we can all see that. You can see that whenever there is a comment from the Fed on inflation, the stock market has a sustained drop. It's had a sustained drop 3 out of the last 4 sessions. So clearly they're trying, there's a large scale trying to price into the market to get prices to reflect accurate values. So that's just a basic indication that there's a bubble, right? Prices are here, values are here. That in between is either makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And right now the market is saying it doesn't make sense, so prices are going down to meet value. In terms of a housing bubble, I don't see one. That's not always part of, my. I'm a homeowner just like you guys are, so I'm in the same boat. But no, I don't see a hard crash, like we saw in September 2008, or anything approximating that. There definitely will be a period of time in which prices will come down to match value, and whether that hits the real estate market or not, I'm not sure.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And with that, there are no further questions.
All right. Thank you for sharing that update with us, Jeff. As he mentioned, you can reach out to your local representatives, Assemblymember Sabrina Cervantes and Senator Richard Roth, both of whose contact information is provided on your screen. All right. We always love having our Riverside County Office of Education representative, Pete Cervantes, join us on these weekly calls. And I would like to invite him to share a few words and introduce their new representative. Pete?
Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank you all, Bobby, Kim, Stephanie, and Anthony, for never letting me miss a meeting. And I say that because of his weekly updates and things. So thank you all for making me feel welcome. As things go, things change. I've been reassigned, given another opportunity to go somewhere else and help. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with all of you. But that being said, I'd like to introduce a new face in the group right here, and her name is Annette Demont, and she is a community outreach ambassador. Her and I are one of the originals when this first started, when Dr. White's vision came to fruition. She called on us, and we were there and ready to be here to help. So, Annette.
Thank you, Pete. It's a real honor to be here this morning. I appreciate everybody's time. I would like to have you reach out to me if you have any issues, problems, or anything that I personally can help you with. My information is in the chat box. Please do not hesitate to call me. I have been with the Riverside Office of Education for 4 years now, as Pete has been also. And it's an honor to be representing Corona to the Office of the Superintendent. So please do not hesitate to contact me at any time. Thank you, Pete, and thank you, members of the Chamber.
Thank you both, and thank you, Pete, for always tuning in, and we look forward to having Annette join us on these calls. Before we end today's program, let me share with you about who is on the call. We have a former Assembly member and former Corona mayor and many other things, Jeff Miller, who's our chair for the Legislative Advocate. And we have Brad West from Assemblymember Cervantes' office, and former mayor and Citizen of the Year, Jason Scott. And we also have Norco College President, Dr. Monica Green. Thank you so much for joining in. All right. Once again, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, AFE Power. Their talented team is focused on bringing the best products and customer experience to the end user. The AFE product line includes over 2,500 applications, which are all designed and developed and manufactured right here in Corona, California. Learn more at afepower.com. If you would like to sponsor a future business briefing, please contact the Chamber. Join us next week on Wednesday, December 8th, as we discuss when the local economy will recover and how we have saved you more than $50,000 per employee. If you would like to rewatch any part of today's program or would like to share it with others, it can be found on the Chamber's YouTube page. Thank you everyone for attending. Our meeting is adjourned.